Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dixie Marinas, and thank you so much for tuning into Drink Manila Happy Hour Plus One. We have a really special guest today. His name is Mr. Stephan Berg from the Bitter Truth Company. If you guys don't know what bitters are, I hope you guys can stick around, and definitely you're going to be learning about bitters this special episode. So for you guys, just to give you a short background on our special guest. So since 2006, Stefan Berg and his partner established the Bitter Truth Company, coming off Germany. So the Bitter Truth bitters have received multiple awards around the world, and they've been continuing to innovate their lineup of products. So they have a very unique addition to the bitters range as well, and they have created Bogart's bitters that it is supposed to be the first bitters that was mentioned at the Jerry Thomas cocktail book. So it's a very historic piece of what do you call this cocktail information that everybody should be knowing about. And of course, not just about that, but people should know more about bitters, that you guys should start becoming more confident on how to use it and where to use it as well. So we have the perfect gentleman to explain to us and share with us all these views. We're going to be talking about bitters, his company, and we're going to be talking about how things are doing in Germany, the bar industry, and a lot more. So I hope you guys stick around till the end of the show. We're also going to be giving away a pre-batch cocktail that we're going to be doing on this show live. So I hope you guys can send us questions, and be interactive, and hope you guys can stay with us until the end and the rest of this show. So without further ado, I'll be bringing in Stefan, and keep on listening. Hi, Stefan. Here you go. I'm muting
Yeah.
you. There you go. I can hear
Oh,
you now. How are
you
you?
can hear me now. Okay, I'm doing good. Hello to Manila.
Great. Hello, Germany. What time is it over there?
Well, it's 11:05 in the morning. So we just got started.
11:05. So your day is just about to get started, and we're just about to finish because right now it's 5 p.m. in the Philippines, and this is our happy hour time. So thank God we
Awesome.
have you on the show, because I know that you're gonna be sharing a really nice, tasty recipe with us. But yeah, thanks again for guesting on this show, and there's a lot of people who are thirsty for information about bitters, because a lot of people, even I mean, you started this company 2006, but there's still a lot of people asking us, what are bitters? What exactly are bitters?
Well, bitters is a very concentrated and very, I'd say, intense kind of liquid you would not drink on its own. But once you add a bit to a cocktail, the cocktail will just open up and it will be much better than without. Because the bitters, they are so complex, and of course they are bitter when you taste them neat, but the bitterness is then fading away in the drink and opens up a whole new level of complexity.
How else would you be using bitters? I know that there are some chefs also who use bitters for cooking.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we have not focused on the culinary side with bitters, but we are aware of chefs using our bitters in their recipes. But it's a complete different kind of world compared to the beverage world.
Yeah.
And since we have a beverage world background, because we used to be bartenders back in the day, so we rather stick to the field we have knowledge of and leave
Yeah.
the culinary side to the chefs. And but we have this savory style of bitters. They work excellently in recipes for cooking, or also for pastry recipes, for example.
So there's a lot of uses for bitters, and I know during the olden times as well, there's some benefits also, health benefits to it. Now I guess
Well,
we can.
you cannot make those claims anymore, and the claims made in the past, they were most often wrong, because in the early days, speaking about the late 18th century, early 19th century, bitters were considered medicine. That was actually the stuff, the bad tasting stuff you would put on a spoon, and you would take this to cure whatever, or at least you were trying to cure. But back then, also the medical infrastructure was, of course, way different. So if we go backwards in history, in Europe, for example, you had the monks and so on. They make all these kind of potions, and then when people were immigrating from Europe to the New World, the America, they just arrived there and had to build their own kind of infrastructure. So small settlements grew into small cities, and then eventually into bigger ones. So they had to take care of themselves. And of course, knowledge back then was passed on from one generation to another. Maybe they had some books, or maybe some recipes were published in newspapers, for example. And this was how things were passed on. And then people were using plants they could find in their region, and combining those ingredients maybe with something they brought from the old world. And this led to a big, massive medicine medicine trade. There were millions of bottles sold back then. With these small pharmacies, they usually made their own potions to sell to the residents of that community.
That's really interesting. It's a really like long line of history for bitters. But fast forward to bitters of today, it's if my drinking world will definitely be very very boring if I didn't know how bitters I didn't know how to use bitters, because it really does make a difference. How do you guys make bitters in the bitter truth? How is it basically made?
Well, basically maize is, the, we always take alcohol as a base. This is probably the most important thing. There are other companies, of course, using other stuff to form that liquid. So, but we use alcohol for a certain reason, and the reason is very simple. Alcohol will extract the flavor from your herbs and spices, and at the same time, it will also preserve the bitters. So all our bitters come in a proof range between 60 proof, which is 30% volume, up to 88 proof, which is 44%
Yeah.
alcohol. And this makes the product very shelf stable, and there's no artificial components going into making the bitters. So what we
Mm-hmm.
basically do, we have a raw form of alcohol. In most cases, it's neutral grain spirit. Yeah. In some
Mm-hmm.
cases, we also use high proof rum, or we use high proof gin, but that depends on the product. And then we buy ingredients like peels, roots, flowers, and we combine them and form a basket of herbs. And then we soak those herbs for weeks in a high proof alcohol, so it has time to extract all the flavors. And then it forms the liquid we are looking for. So to get the right flavor profile. It's then simply strained off and then given some time to rest, because it always takes time that all the flavors come together. And then sometimes we add a little bit of sugar just for balancing reasons, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe some caramel coloring. And that's it. There's not much more to it, basically. I mean, to come up with the right balance of the ingredient, that's a tricky part. But when we develop a new product or we dig into an old product, we build the recipe basically in our heads first. Um, as we were bartenders for quite a number of years, we have built up quite a flavor library in our heads. So we don't need to taste something, but we can already see how flavors are working
So you
together.
can imagine how the flavors are combining together.
Yeah,
How many years were you a bartender before you guys came up with because you guys were all over the world as well, right?
kind of, yeah, pretty
Mhm.
much.
So how many years before you realized that, this is the type of company that I was gonna do? How
It's
long
a
before
funny
that?
story. Yeah, it's a funny story actually. I was behind 15 years behind the bar, and my company partner was about 7 years um, in different cities. So we actually didn't know each other up until 1 year before we founded the company, because we
Mm-hmm.
met on a cocktail competition basically. We were
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and that cocktail competition was held on a cruise ship going through the Mediterranean Sea, and we had a week to get to know each other, and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
then we became friends. And while I was making bitters for the bar I was working, um, we we then combined our skills, because Alex, my company partner, he was a studied graphic design student before he went into bartending. So then we thought, okay, he can do the design, so let's find a bottle and offer it for sale. And there was no intention to make it a company or make it a global brand. Not at all. We were just jumping into cold water, as we say, and just were just overwhelmed by the response, because at that time nobody has done such a thing. You know, bartenders usually didn't make products that were meant to be sold. Usually, the
Mm-hmm.
corporates uh,
Uh-huh.
produced the products for the bar, which was kind of odd. And so we just gave it a try, and yeah, 13 years later, um, 14 years almost, yeah. Um, there's the bitter truth around, and you
And
can
you guys
actually
are,
find it.
pretty much everywhere now. You guys are like one of the most successful bitter companies, and of course, I know that you've also jumped into like not just the bitters now, but you also have a line of like different spirits. But let's let's talk about that later. I'm getting a little thirsty now, Stefan. Let's go and make
All
that
right,
drink that you sent to me. So let me just
all
get the
right.
ingredients as well.
So what I'm going to do for you today is a very delicious, refreshing, simple drink everybody can make at home. So what you need is a tall glass, um, and we have some ice, right? Prepared. So the drink I'm going to make is called the dark and spicy. And what you
So it's a
need,
riff from the dark and stormy, huh?
it's a riff of the dark and stormy. Um, but as we produce also rums, or at least we blend those rums
Mm-hmm.
under the Tiki Lovers brand. That's a high proof, 114 proof rum. So you need about 2 ounces, depending on the time of the day, of course. Um, and you combine it with a falernum. Falernum is a Caribbean spice liqueur. So this is one is based on rum, has three types of rum in it, sugarcane, and then you have spices. Like ginger, vanilla, uh, allspice, limes. So this is working like a sweetener with an extra spice. So you would
So it's
add
like, yeah.
about 25 mils to your mix. So your rum
Mm-hmm.
gets already spiced up. And then you can add a dash or two of bitters for more complexity even. So I've chosen for the
Mm-hmm.
aromatic bitters here. And then to balance the sweetness coming from the falernum, we add some fresh lime to it. And
Fresh lime.
if
I
you
have some fresh juice
fresh
here.
lime, so maybe a
How
quarter
much
of a
lime do I
lime.
put? Like 10
Yeah, but
ml?
10 ml is good, 10 to 15. Uh, so it should be just a little below to your sweetener, in this case, the falernum.
Mm-hmm.
And then you
Mm-hmm.
have actually a mix that's quite like this. And then to give it some refreshing um, notes to it, you just fill it up with ginger beer or ginger ale.
All right.
So ginger beer usually has more spice to it, um, and then you just swirl it around or you stir it up, and then you have that nice little mix, which is good in hot weather, of course. I mean, we are blessed with some good weather here in Germany at the moment, and
We're always blessed with hot weather in the Philippines, even if it's raining.
yeah, we don't have that good weather for too long. For us, it's a very short few months, and we usually make the most out of it. So, and then you have a nice little potent beverage, which is refreshing, which is flavorful, and you can easily make it at home.
This is perfect for Philippine weather. I mean, I'm gonna be adding a little bit more ice to mine because it kind of like needs more ice.
The
It's
ice is very important.
supposedly, yeah.
When it
So don't
when
be
it
shy
comes
when you're making it.
No, when it comes to making cocktails or drinks, ice is the most important thing to have. Good ice simply make a better drink. And if you have no ice at all, then it gets difficult.
Yeah, and I mean that's like my pet peeve. When you're really thirsty and you want to drink, and then somebody serves you a cocktail that's warm because they didn't put enough ice. That really kind of like makes me really sad.
Yeah, with cocktail, it's all about the temperature. So even if you have a drink like the dry martini, if it's too warm, it simply does not taste. It's just it's just not good. So the temperature is very critical.
That's awesome. That's a great tip, guys. If you guys are watching and hearing this, these are some tips that are really important when you're making great cocktails at home. I know that like a lot of you are, itching to go and see your favorite bars, but right now it's not possible. So we're here to Stefan here just gave us a really nice simple recipe that you can, you know, impress your friends or impress your family members at home, feeling like you're actually in a real, you know, uh, great bar. But it's so easy, and I'm gonna go and try this now. I just took a picture of this cocktail, which I know that I'll be sending to Christmas because we're gonna be making this pre-batched and we're gonna be sending it to you. So I hope you guys can message us. I know that people are watching live, but there's a lot of people who actually watch this show recorded. So we're actually doing really great because the people who are watching this, I guess they watch it when they're available, and it gets to a lot of like different households. So if you guys want to go and have a try of this, and you're a little bit lazy, but you would allow me to send this really nice, beautiful drink that Stefan shared with us. Yeah, so please just stand by for some instructions. We're going to be posting on stories. Okay, so are we going to be drinking this?
To
Oh, that's
you.
so good. Cheers.
Refreshing, isn't
Cheers
it?
so much.
Cheers.
Very refreshing. It's one of my favorite drinks, actually, the dark and stormy. But I actually I have to admit that I really like the way that you made this because it has the falernum, which is as I've said earlier, is like a mixture of three different types of rums, and it just
Correct.
makes a totally different. Like it makes it more complex and just more all around more enjoyable to drink. Thank you so much for this recipe, Stefan.
Pleasure.
So earlier we were talking about how you started, how and when you started Bitter Truth. Started with your partner Alex. I haven't gotten to meet
Hmm.
him, but hopefully in the future will still get to meet. Maybe when I go to Germany, when we're all around to travel now. That was actually the last country I was supposed to be traveling to before the lockdown, before all this happened. I was
Okay.
actually bound to go to Berlin, and
Nice, nice city.
I know that, like, I love Berlin. I mean, their cocktail scene there, their bar scene is just amazing. It's everybody's so artistic and so talented and just kind of like out of the box. It's just so
Oh yeah,
exciting. And
it's a great city to drink in.
how and you are based in Munich.
In Munich, just outside of Munich, actually just across the city border, in a small city. But it takes me about 20 minutes into downtown Munich. Yeah, yeah. At the moment, of course, we're all affected by the pandemic, of course. So there's not much to do other than follow the instructions and the general guidelines. So there's no travel for us. Although they have opened up the European Union for European residents, so we can actually move freely to all the countries. But is it really necessary? For the time being, because it's not under control as it seems globally. Here in Germany, cases are going down. Restaurants and bars are back open, um, especially if they have an outside area, or they try to make take out stuff, because if you have a very small bar, it's very difficult to keep social distancing in place. So people usually are wearing a mask, keep distance to each other. So
Inside the
we're
bars.
inside the bars also. So you have usually tables. They have more distance between the tables, and you should only sit with your group at one table, so people you are familiar with, family, friends. And then if you start moving within the bar, you go into the toilet, or go outside, you should have a mask. It's mandatory. And
At all times.
yeah, and that helps also to control the pandemic here in Germany. And so far, we came out of it pretty good. I mean, of course, it's disturbing for everybody. We all would like to have it differently, but that's a situation we have to deal with at the moment.
Yeah.
And the better we do that, the sooner this is all over. So there's no travel at the moment, so no business travel at all for us at the moment. So hopefully this will change at one point. But I think the best would be that people kind of watch over themselves and their close ones and friends, and stay where they are for now. And
Hmm.
we can just hope that things will get better. Of course, the bar and restaurant trade is massively affected. So also the clubs, the discotheques. Um, but everybody is affected the same way, uh, kind of. And of course, there's a lot of fear, and how will the future look like in a post-pandemic bar world? What is going to change? Nobody knows yet. But There will be a time afterwards. I hope at least, but actually, I'm also convinced because 200 years of cocktail making will not just disappear because of one event. It will have interruptions, it will have adjustments, of course, and maybe it even will last longer than we all hope, but there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, yes, that's definitely well said, and that's something that we always have to be. We have to be positive, and yes, it's gonna be. These are things. It's happened before, and we
Yeah,
survived that. So we just have to stay firm, and try to, I guess, really just practice social distancing and just keep healthy, and just enjoy yourselves in making home cocktails for now.
yeah,
Um, so how is that doing? I mean, you guys are dependent on bars, and before it was always about the bars, and it's always about the events that you guys go to and do. How are you planning? How are you pivoted? How have you pivoted on how to push this your how to push your products to people now? Because a lot of people are now really trying to do home cocktails.
yeah, that's a good thing. Well, what are we doing? Basically, we are watching the situation as it evolves. Of course, bars and restaurants on premise, you know, this is our main customer base, and of course, they don't have a business. So the there were interruptions, of course. Also, wholesaler importers, they are also building down on inventory, of course, which is just natural. You just
Mhm.
want to make sure that they get through all this. On the other hand, you know, we are not pushing products at the moment, not at all. I mean, we do a bit of Instagram, sometimes a bit of Facebook, but very little, very laid back. Because at the moment we think there are more important things to do than just to promote product that people have
Mhm.
no need for at the moment from the
Yeah.
from the from the bar world, because
Yeah.
home mixing is we are encouraged home mixing, but of course it will be a different experience than when you go to a bar. And
Yeah.
what I would advise for the moment, if you have your local bar and the bar offers takeouts, order from them, keep them alive,
Support
and
them.
support them where you can. Sometimes you can just buy vouchers and consume later, but it
Yeah.
helps them to get through that crisis. Because if we all wake up and having no bars and restaurants to go to, that will be a pretty boring experience.
That would be
Because there
really
were
sad.
also, yeah, and there was also so much skill getting lost if we don't support these bars. So we are not pushing at the moment. We try to help where we can, but we are basically a small fish. We see the big companies, of course, doing great support for the bars also. And yeah, that's mainly it. I mean, we use the time we have at our hands. We have just redesigned our whole website. These kind of things, all your materials you need when you have a brand, they are getting a redesign and stuff like that. So there are ways to keep yourself busy without getting crazy, with all the thoughts and news you have at your hand. Sometimes it's good idea to step back a bit and see a wider picture, and maybe just wait and see and try where you can help, other than doing crazy stuff just because everybody's getting crazy with all this.
So I know that you're busy because you've been doing the rebranding even before the pandemic started. But of course, it's kind of lucky that you did, because you're already busy with other things. You were able to keep yourself busy despite being locked down and at home. And not everybody's so lucky to do that. But what do you like before the lockdown hit, and of course, we were all busy with our own lives. Um, what what are things that you actually miss pre-pandemic, uh, and seeing things now, aside from, like, of course, the bars are all closed, mostly closed, and it's a little bit of a you get a little bit of paranoia when you're going outside. But what else do you miss? I assume that you do have a lot of, like, interviews as well. You have a lot of, like, meetings, and it's mostly online. Um, what is something that you miss on a, like, the normal, during the normal times? Now it's, it's the new normal.
Yeah, the new normal. Yeah, I mean, I must say, last year, pre-pandemic, there was so much travel involved. So I was going around to all the places, back and forth, and I was really tired at the end of the year. So I needed a break, and I decided to take a break from traveling. And then all of a sudden, we got this pandemic. So actually, I didn't miss the travel at that moment, but now after 4 months, we are 4 months now in, right?
Yeah,
Um, it's a different story because when you're just at home and you don't go out, you miss a bit of your social life, of course.
yeah,
Of course, you have your phone calls and so on, but you reduce the human contact to a minimum if you can, of course. And as we had so much to do with a website, so we hardly left the house. And at
yeah.
some point, if you are locked in a house for 3 months or so, it gets a bit shaky because people need social contacts and
That's
interactions.
the physical
Um,
interaction.
yeah, a smile, a hug, a chat, eye to eye contact, for example. Um, this is not something you can really do with a streaming, online interviews.
Hmm.
It's better to
That's
have
something
that
that you
personal relationship. Yeah. So I actually
yeah,
miss that.
it's totally different.
But at least here in Germany, it has gotten better. We can go out again. It's summer now. People go out, they go for a hike, they go for their shopping again. Stores are open. But sadly, for bars, they are still limited, and especially the small ones, they suffer a lot. But there's also some support coming from the German government. Still not perfect, of course, but uh, yeah. So far, we haven't seen the total collapse of the bar scene in Germany, but it's very tough for them.
Yeah, I can just imagine. I mean, in the Philippines, it's no different. It's probably even worse, because they've started raiding and closing establishments who've put their foot forward and braved opening. Now they've
Hmm.
closed because now they're not allowed to operate. And I just found out, because I just came back from a driving trip up north. But when I came back, they were telling me that our area, Makati city, has now disallowed drinking in public.
Hmm.
So we can't go out to any restaurant and even just have, like, a beer, or even just have, like, a glass of wine. We're not allowed to do that anymore. And there are still places that are still practicing. They're still not allowed to drink because it's still liquor ban. So it's not really looking very promising for us. But we're all standing strong, and trying to brave this new norm. Hopefully, we can continue to somehow bring the numbers down for COVID, so that we can somewhat go back to closer to normal, but of course it will never be the same. Uh, I'm just, we're just very, very hopeful still. Oh, we have a question from some of our viewers. I just wanted to say hi to some people tuning
Sure.
in. Joseph, Jean Marc is here. Paul has a really nice, good question. He wanted to know. He wanted to ask you which country is the biggest market for your products.
The US,
The
clearly.
U.S. Okay,
Yeah, the US is the
and
biggest market. I mean, the USA has such a long history of making cocktails. I mean, that goes backwards
yeah,
200 years. And if you
yeah,
talk to people there, everybody knows what an old fashioned or an
yeah,
Manhattan is, for example.
yeah,
But Germany, for example, historically was more a beer and wine country. Uh, of course, we have cocktails everywhere now, but this is only for the last, say, 40, 50 years. Before that, there was some places, but it wasn't big on cocktails. Bars were in Germany, there was always something considered something, how do you say, you know, red light kind of stuff.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Uh, but that's but
Like
that
pretty much
that's not enough.
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean the older population, they may still see that way, but of course the younger generation not at all.
Hmm.
It's
I mean,
just a
definitely things have
place
changed.
together. Yeah.
So are you guys stepping down production as of now? Are you cutting production?
We have not cut back in production. I mean, the we have about 3 to 4 months production time. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, all the production planned, uh, they were produced, of course, because everything was already in the making. That's why we also didn't feel the effect of the pandemic at first moment. But of course, we will start seeing that in the second half of the years because we have built up stock. And
Yeah.
yeah, and but there's also good signs already. At the first moment, things have slowed down massively. Orders were canceled and so on. But now we also see parts of the world coming back. There are new orders, new shipments going.
Okay.
So
Which
it
countries are
all,
these?
yeah, China, for example, Asia is opening up. Some European countries, like Spain, for example, or
Spain.
UK, but it's bits and pieces. The US is still performing on a very good level, but
Mm-hmm.
of course it's not at the level it was last year, and that's
Yeah.
probably for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was trying to read about your company, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but is Bitter Truth the same label in the U.S. than in the other parts of the world?
It is,
Do you
yeah,
have a
it
different
is.
brand? Okay. What? Why is this so? What is it called in the U.S.?
Also, the bitter truth,
The
same
Bitter
thing.
Truth.
Yeah, same
Okay.
thing. I mean, there are different markets, of course, require some minor changes on the label due to their
Mm-hmm.
guidelines, but it's the same product, same branding,
Okay.
everything's the same.
Great. So what is that what else is there to look forward to with regards to the Bitter Truth company? What else are you guys
Well,
planning
yeah,
to? Are you
plan
planning new
is,
products?
well, we had something in the works, but of course, all these products are now being delayed because at the
Mm-hmm.
moment you can, of course, have ideas and stuff, but it's not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
No
Mm-hmm.
distributor would add a new product right now.
Yeah.
So they will stick to what they have and what sells. and then control their inventory. So at the moment, and I think for the rest of the year, it's not a good timing to release a new product. Um, of course, there is still this discussion, bottled cocktails. I mean, there's a long history of bottled cocktails, and kind of never worked. For now, it works for some, but
Mm-hmm.
for example, we would rather leave that for the bars because
Yeah.
that's their product. They produce cocktails,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
can sell it like this. And if brands or companies step in and take that business away, ooh, I have my issues with that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
rather support the bars and have them create some income out of the sales of bottled cocktails.
Like in the Philippines, of course, in a lot of like different places now, that's how the bars are surviving. They're bottling all up their cocktails and they're selling it as takeaway and to go.
Hmm.
Um, are there any specific bottled cocktail companies or like bars that are bottling their cocktails in Germany that are doing quite well? Is there any beverage cocktail bottled beverage innovation over there?
Yeah, what happens in Munich, for example, this is my closest I can see now. Uh, During summer, they do a lot of slushies, for example. So slushies seem to be the kind of drink that is attracting many people. It's cold,
That's the
it's
trend there. Mm-mm.
yeah, and people just walk by the bar and they may have an outside table where they produce those beverages just on the go. And
Yeah.
this is doing great. I mean, uh, some bars offer their menu in a bottled form, but it lacks the experience, of course. I mean, if you have the exact same drink and you drink it in different environment, it's not kind of the same. It helps, of
Mm-hmm.
course, keeping the bars alive and also for your personal enjoyment. But yeah, it's not working 100%. At least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, but some places do better than others. It also depends on the concept. I saw some cool stuff from US bars, for example. It's also depending on their laws in
Mm-hmm.
states, for example. It's all different. Uh, is it allowed to sell bottled cocktails at all? You're difficult. There's so many aspects of it. There's no general advice what to do. Also, when it comes to online sales, there are many countries in the world where online booze selling isn't happening um, because there's no law for it, or at least there's
Yeah.
a law not to do it.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, and also with alcohol having an effect on the social distancing side, we saw countries like Thailand, for example, banning alcohol sales at all,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just to keep people sober, to keep them practicing social distancing. So it's a complex universe of regulation and laws. Um, so everybody involved always have to see where they can get along with the situation.
Yeah, Stefan, this is going to be a pretty long ride, but hopefully, we all get to, be strong enough to weather the troubles. But I mean, it's
We
going to
have
be a
to stay
very long ride
positive.
for a lot of us. We have to always stay positive because if you stay positive, I think that you can always control your narrative. I'd rather have a positive narrative than a negative one. So for
Yeah.
everybody else, and thank God, I'm very lucky because I can still drink, proper drinks at home, and I hope a lot of people who are watching us also can, share the glee. Uh, by listening and getting nice recipes from us too. So we were talking earlier about I didn't get to like delve into it so much, but we were talking about this Bogart's bitters earlier, and I think this is something that the viewer should learn more about as well. Tell us about this Bogart's bitters. When did you release this?
This was released 2, 3 years ago, but it was 12 years in the making. So
12 years, wow. So it's almost
12
like when you
years.
started, you've been wanting to do it because you wanted to do it
Yeah,
right. Was
you
it
know,
difficult to find the right ingredients, or how did you have to
it
like
was it was difficult to find an original bottle. The
wow.
thing is, Bogart's bitters actually never existed. It
Okay.
was a mi-
So
it was a misspelling of a different brand called Boker's. Boker's
okay.
bitters is known that it existed, and I was able to find a full bottle of Boker's bitters with liquid and labels right at the time when we actually started making bitters. So I was searching online auction platforms up and down, and the common belief until 2005 was that no living person has ever tried real Boker's bitters. So it was the king
Till
of
then.
bitters in the 19th century. It even uh, predates the other famous bitters brand in the world. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah. Wow.
so we saved it, and we always wanted to bring that back. But this kind of shape of the bottle is no longer made. So we always save money aside to make a custom make glass bottle for it to have the original shape. And then
I
Alex,
mean,
of
it's
course,
beautiful.
was making the label. The original labels, they were all darkened, and you can hardly read anything. And then we were digging into the liquid itself. So we made gas chromatography analysis, reverse engineering, because liquid. The original bottle of Boker's bitters I have was bottled in 1900. So it's
Wow.
120 years. So liquid is changing. You lose the high notes of the liquid. It all becomes kind of blurry mess. And you have to put things in context. Also, because the Boker family, they were from Germany, from a certain area. There was some certain style of bitters. Of course, they got influenced by that. All those little bits and pieces. But the question remained, why is it not called Boker's bitters and it's called Bogart's bitters? We
Mm-hmm.
decided
Mm-hmm.
to go for Bogart's simply because in a very first cocktail book, 1862, Jerry Thomas had a mixing book with different mixed drinks, punches and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
juleps, sours, and so on. And he had 10 cocktails in that, 10. And all of those cocktails required bitters. Bitters were the defining ingredient in a cocktail. If it wouldn't have bitters,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't have been a cocktail. It would have been something else.
Yeah.
So, but, Jerry Thomas probably passed on the recipes to the publisher, and someone
Mm-hmm.
who set all the recipes for the book, they had a misspelling. Instead of Bokers, they
Yeah.
were writing Bogarts. So it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first mentioned bitters in cocktail history. There's no bitters that was mentioned before. And so we decided to go with Bogart's name. There is
Yeah.
if you go to our website, there is a subsection called Bitters Explained, which gives you some great insight how the past seems to have been, and also about the history of Bogarts and how it evolved from Jerry Thomas times to the end of the century, when then eventually the company faded away, because in the United States or America back then, they had a Foods and Drug Act where they put an end to all those claims companies made, in regards to medicinal values and so on. So they had to prove it from that point in 1910, and then shortly afterwards, they had the nationwide prohibition, for example, and then those companies simply could not survive. And also, the founders of the company, they have passed away, for example. New generation was no longer in the mood to keep on doing what father or grandfather have done. Business got sold, and then things just fade away. So we decided to do some labor of love here and to bring it back, because there's so much history around it. It's a foundation, what we all do with the cocktail making and bars and so, and we wanted to have this back. And so 12 years, at some point we decided, okay, it may not be 100%, but maybe it's 98, and that's the closest we will probably ever get to what it was. I mean, even if you would have an original sealed bottle from the original days, the liquid would have fallen apart, and it wouldn't have.
So how was it when you had I mean, you bought the bottle for auction in an auction. So I can imagine it's such an old bottle. The liquid itself was probably reduced to not its full portion anymore.
The filling level was about the shoulder level, so still pretty good.
So I'll tell here. Okay, wow. And how did you? So you found it during an auction, and how long before you found that? I mean, it's like it sounds really exciting what you were doing. You're kind of like doing like a treasure hunt.
You cannot imagine how excited I was when I won the auction. My heart was just beating like crazy, because this was a true treasure, because there were no known bottles of it, except for one in London. That's where I got to taste the original Bokers by my friend Jake Berger in London. He runs a Portobello Road gin. And he used to have a bar at Portobello Road, and he made vintage cocktails at Barshaw, London in 2005. So they had pre-prohibition rye, for example, and he had this bottle of Bokers bitters, and he was offering brandy crusters, original mix in his bar. Very exciting stuff. But
that's crazy.
Very few people noticed that. There was just a small circle of people, but that was very exciting.
I'm sure. I mean, 2005, 2006. I was my journey into real cocktails, into like real getting into like the world of cocktails just started then. My sister was based in Boston, and I was driving every weekend to New York. So, you have PDT there, and you got Milk and Honey, and one of my favorite bars in Death and Co. One of my favorite bars in Boston was Drink.
Drink
I experienced. I love that's like one of my favorite bars. The owner of that, Barbara Lynch, is one of my heroes.
Yeah, they were very on the forefront of cocktails in Boston. Yeah, that was a nice bar. I hope.
But exciting, huh? I hope. I don't know now. I haven't been to Boston in a while, but I'm sure they have a lot of like really still good concepts, and I hope they survive this, because how do you feel about the survival of bars in Germany? I mean, I feel like in the Philippines, I would say that, I'm not being pessimistic or anything. I'm just being a how do you say this? I'm just being rational. I think like we're lucky if we have 50% survive.
Well, yeah, that's a sad truth about it, and we already hear from some places that they will not reopen, like the Pegu Club in New York, for example.
Oh
Um,
no.
I, yeah, I just heard today that the Tiki Cat in Kansas City is not opening again, not necessarily through Corona, but there were also some disputes in with the landlord. I mean, it's tough. It's how can you survive if you have to pay that high of a rent, no income? I mean,
Yeah,
you can go to your savings and drag it on for some time, but at some point,
but it's not the wise thing. Mhm.
yeah, it's super hard, and hopefully this will be figured out once the vaccine is available, and people lose also their their fear to get affected, so they start getting out more often.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the good thing is people will not stop drinking. This will go on. It always has been like that. I doubt there will be change, but the way we consume it may change. And what we had over the last 15 years, there was such a skyrocketing number of bars opening, new concept, niche concept, great stuff happening all over the place. Uh, but it's definitely a shockwave that goes through the whole industry.
There's definitely going to be a lot of changes, and I think I totally agree with you. Um, but I think these changes are going to be probably producing a lot of really, really great work. If you believe so, like me, um, I'm just looking forward to how people are going to be innovating the drinks industry.
There will be
So
innovation. There will be
there has
innovation,
to
but
be.
it may not happen right now.
Yeah.
But at some point, things will start getting back to the new normal. And, everybody is driven by fear at the moment. So, as said earlier, we need to stay positive and we need to practice uh, the distancing, without losing what we love the most, going to bars, being with people we like, and have a good time with our friends and family out there. And as I said, go out to bars, or if they are not open, take their offers for takeaway, for bottled stuff, support them. It's important. Otherwise, where will we go afterwards?
Let's not go there because we're not going to allow it. We definitely need to support our local bars and uh, just stay positive. So sorry, last question, Stefan. How do you actually use this bitter? I mean, this bitter bottle is huge
It's huge.
compared to the other bitter bottles that we use. Like this one,
Correct.
your classic aromatic bitters is this size. I mean, it's how do you use these bitters? Like sorry, this one. How do you use
Yeah.
the Bogarts? What's a great use for it?
So as I said earlier, in the old days, it used to be medicine. So originally it was sold Boker's stomach bitters. So people were taking this as kind of a medicine to have an effect on the stomach. That's not what we are
Mm-hmm.
focused. We are solely focused on the taste. So you use it
Mm-hmm.
the same way. And the reason why the bottle is that big is the original bottle was that big. So it's a one-to-one
Ah,
replica. And they even
okay,
had
okay.
a larger size bottle which was double. It was this big. So they were selling it in, I think, half quart and full quart or something like that. So basically, you use these bitters the same way as you use the other bitters. You put a dasher in, so the regular dasher from from our smaller bottles will fit in here. So you can just
Okay.
switch it.
Okay.
So, and then it's good for all your old fashioned, for your Manhattans, these kind of drinks. They usually call for an aromatic bitters. Uh, and that's the oldest aromatic type of bitters you can get. It's very complex. It's intense. It's nothing you would drink by the shot because it really has some kick to it.
Well, it still has
But
alcohol in it.
it has alcohol. It's even on the original alcohol strength of 42.1%.
Wow, that's pretty
Everything is
high.
kept. Everything is kept
Original.
original.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. I've learned a lot of things from you, and I hope all these the viewers also are watching. They're definitely going to be learning a lot. This is like an hour long show, and we've discussed a lot of things. And I'd like to thank you for guesting on the show, and I hope this is not going to be the first and the last one. I've truly enjoyed chatting with you, Stefan, and really looking forward to the new norm on how people are going to start innovating their drinking ways, because as of now we're all going to have to adjust to um, what we have been given, but hopefully a lot more people will learn how to enjoy themselves making great drinks at home, and also that they've learned about your products and how important it is to actually have them uh, to have them use at home. So any last words? Sorry, I wanted to also share with our viewers where to find your products. I know that you guys are being distributed by Grand Cru Wines. Thanks again,
That's exact.
Alan. I was coordinating with Alan, and thank you for sending all these beautiful bottles. I'm going to be
Hi, Alan.
drinking quite happily. I'm going to be sending some stuff also for my team, and I will be sending a pre-batch bottle of cocktail to the lucky winner for posting on their stories. Tag Bitter Truth and tag Drink Manila, and we will send you a pre-batch cocktail of today's episode. So Bitter Truth products are distributed by Grand Cru Wines, and you can purchase them online. If you don't want to be going outside, you can just open your computer, open your cell phone, and order from the boozeshop.ph, drinka.com, and also Boozy. Any last words, Stefan?
Yeah, I just want to thank you to have me at the show, and best regards to Manila, and I hope to be back in the Philippines very soon. I had the pleasure to be
Yes.
here twice. Had a few days at Boracay back then, so that was wonderful. So hopefully everybody's doing great. Stay healthy, support your places, and then we see us one day eye to eye again.
Awesome. Next time, I am going to invite you to come to my place in Palawan because you've been to Boracay.
Oh,
I will
Palawan.
invite you
I heard
to
about that.
my resort. I'll invite you to my resort, and I'm looking forward to that. So, guys, the people who are watching, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for listening to our conversation. I hope you guys learned a lot of things. And if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to send us a message or comment on our page. But yeah, follow us on Drink Manila online. We have an Instagram page. We have also on YouTube. Please subscribe to us for great recipes. Keep on listening and stay tuning in to Drink Manila Plus One. On Friday, we have another bartender where we would love to support. These are bartenders who's established new businesses during the pandemic, and I hope you guys come and join us then. And again, Stefan, thank you so much.
Thanks for
And
having me.
more power to Bitter Truth. And let's keep in touch.
Thank you, Dixie.
Cheers.
Bye.
By the way, this
Cheers.
drink is still amazing. I can still feel like the levels of flavors here. Your
Awesome.
bitters have just done justice to this drink. It's just made it a bit more special. Thank you so much, and cheers.
Cheers to you. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.